because I was a little late coming back from Friday night's train derailment in Plainfield. It's kind of a good analogy for the state the last couple of years. 25 cars piled up. There was leaking oil. And I don't know if many of you saw the pictures, but there was literally pictures of the train tracks just all ripped apart. I was talking to one of the people on the scene, and he said, he had said, you know, a lot of people are saying, well, there won't be any train traffic in Plainfield anymore. And the guy goes, oh, no. Costs Canadian National $2 million per hour that train track is down. So I'm calculating in my head, looking at the wreckage. I'm thinking a month or two. This Sunday morning, trains were going down that road. You know why? Because it was their money, and it was all hands on deck. And I've been here for 2.5 years, and you know what it hasn't been for 2.5 years? It has not been all hands on deck to make this state run better, to make this state run more efficient for 2.5 years. You know, there's some small things, and there's some big things. We talk about fraud in Medicaid. It's a big thing. There's some small things. Soybean-based ink, remember that? We have 2 labor relation boards. Why do we need 2? We have 3 Board of Educations. We have the Illinois Community College Board. We have the Illinois Board of Higher Education. We have the Illinois State Board of Education. For different levels, most states or many states have 1. One of the things that this does is we get analysis sometimes. The ICC is against it, the IBHE is for it, or vice versa, because we've created friction in our own system. We've actually spent money making something more expensive and less efficient. You know, there's been a lot of fight about things like prevailing wage and stuff like that. I had a report done. We had one of the most expensive ways of calculating prevailing wage. We voted this year to make sure it was the most expensive way of prevailing wage. Most states have a minimum job size for small jobs to make it reasonable for somebody just to hire the local plumber. That's meant for smaller jobs and jobs like that. We didn't do anything about that. Higher ed. I talked about the fact going back 2 years when we were funding higher ed, and it's been a travesty to anybody in this chamber should realize how much damage we've done to our reputation and our long-term health of our future with what we did with young people that'll be making hopefully big money in the future. However, before, in 2015 when we were funding, depending on how you calculate it, we were 3rd highest in funding higher ed to 8th highest if you stripped out all pension costs, yet we were still charging people more tuition than our neighboring states and competitive universities. Why? Do we ever want to put all hands on deck and actually study why it costs so much more to educate a kid in Illinois? Did we want to do that first? No, we played political games. Social services, you ever want to talk to a social service about how much they spend in work comp costs? There's some that spend $500,000 in work comp costs. My school district spends over $1 million in work comp costs. Hundreds of thousands of dollars could be saved by having average work comp costs. And I talked about ways, throw the governor's stuff aside, I talked about ways if you were concerned about the worker and lower costs, and you were concerned about the businesses, the insurance company, the trial lawyers, there are ways to make that work comp system more efficient and better for the injured worker. We even had people arguing against reform that would tell a story about how bad our system was and how long it took to get surgery. That's because of friction in the system that I talked about. So I don't know what's going to happen here. I have a feeling. But all I'm asking for is that we look at this as an all-hands-on-deck situation, because we haven't for as long as I've been here, and I don't know how far back that goes. And it doesn't matter if we're a Republican or a Democrat, and it doesn't matter whether this tax hike passes and we have a temporary balanced budget, because people are leaving and property taxes are high. And this isn't going to help that situation. It might be a Band-Aid for a while, but it's not going to help the long-term health of what's going on in Illinois. We need to address all those other cost drivers, and we need to act together as an all-hands-on-deck, because apparently a massive train wreck can be cured in 2 days, and I'm sure that this body could do that if we acted that way. Thank you.